Are you ever on social media? Because I see it. My wife and I see it, and I'll say to Jess, Jesus Christ, look at this. Look at this ugliness. Do you see it? And how do you cope with that?
First of all, yeah, I see it. I mean, you can't
not.
Even though I don't spend much time at all on social media,
right.
I very much know it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there.
You're a little busy.
No, but every now and then, we'll see it. But inevitably, my reflection is not, ooh, that's about me or that's this. It's about them. It's like my question is always, well, what is going on in this person's life that they are that angry, that they are...
Wow. What's going on in this person's life that they're that angry at you? Because the government is interfering with our lives. You are interfering with our lives. I never cared about the government 10 years ago before you destroyed everything. Like I didn't need to pay attention. You probably didn't need to pay attention because the government was small. They didn't interfere in our lives, but now you're interfering in everything. You're censored the internet, you asshole. You freaking stomped on protesters, the most peaceful protest in all of the centuries of time. You've broke ethics violations. That cost of living is insane, of the food and the housing and the gasoline. You keep adding taxes to everything. It's a full-on socialist, communist taxation, and we don't get anything back for our money. You're stealing our land. You're stealing our wealth. You're stealing Canada. Canada is a laughing joke of the world. You have your minister freaking going to the WEF. She is not representing the WEF. She's representing Canadians, you asshole. Jesus. This has got to be the intro. Let's get back to it.
Of what it's like to be prime minister, which you're getting really good at it. You've been doing it a long time now. And you told me last year you're just starting to really dig the gig. And I want people to understand that I'm not going to be talking about the issues of the day, but there are some things that I want to talk about. And I want to start with...
Well, I mean, just even before you start.
Okay.
Even last year saying that I'm starting to dig the gig. I have reveled and enjoyed this job from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to really figure out what is the right way to do it.
How the card rides.
Position yourself. The subtleties in it.
Yeah.
Oh, hey everybody. My name is Marcel with IrnieracingNews. Yes, we're slaving away. We're going to watch some of the interview of Justin Trudeau, the tyrant Justin Trudeau, as he's probably in Jamaica right now with his wife and his wife's boyfriend, and interviewed by Terry DiMonte, and we'll get into who he is and why he's interviewing Trudeau over the last 3 years on his tiny little YouTube channel of 476 subscribers. It kind of reminds everybody the fact that Trudeau started his own channel, remember, with government funding, government paid filmers and editors, and that's probably going nowhere still. And so he's on to his buddy Terry's, whose YouTube channel is dedicated pretty much just to Trudeau, and that's why it's not going to go anywhere. Surprisingly, the most popular hated man in the world only has 17,000 views in this 5 days of this interview, a candid style interview, no pushback of all. It's just, it's the woke friend interview. So who is Terry DiMonte? Here's his channel, 476 subscribers, 9 videos. As you can see, all the videos are just like, here's Trudeau and then nothing for a year ago. And then the one of 2022 chat was 12,000. And then he's just got a few other little videos of one more of Trudeau down here. So yeah, it's just him and Trudeau's little channel, it looks like. And Terry DiMonte, who is this guy? Here's his webpage. He's a 40-year veteran of the broadcasting industry. Started with CBC Radio, of course, in the bed of the government. CBC Radio decided to take a shot on a young 19-year-old broadcaster willing to pack up his pair of jeans and go to Manitoba. So anyways, he was born in Montreal, Trudeau's territory. And then he worked and then went into radio. After an original 7-year run on CHOM, which is a Montreal station, he moved to Mix 96. And throughout the 90s, in 98, took over from legendary Jord Balkan at the CJAD 800. And then after a brief stint back at CHOM, a 4-year stay at Q107. So he's a radio guy, right? And following his 43-year career as a CBC to other CHOM radios, he got his retirement in 2021, right in the middle of the beginning of the first year of the pandemic, 1 year into the COVIDism. And then, of course, his buddy Trudeau at CBC gave him the Canadian Broadcaster Industry Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So let's go take a look at this interview. And right off the bat, Trudeau's, it's a tough gig and I'm really enjoying it. He's really enjoying being the evil ruler of the world. What is the Inspector Gadget's evil nemesis or whatever? That's exactly who he is. Let's continue on with it.
And you get, the way things best work, and quite frankly, events keep coming and throwing us off. You have to relearn every time. But there is a sense that I feel I'm better at prime ministering. The actual, people
better. He's feeling better at prime ministering. Some events were getting in the way. You mean like the Freedom Convoy? You mean the people of Canada who freaking don't just dislike you, but absolutely and hate you and want you off of this country, this planet. They want you gone, you WEF globalist prick, right? Some events. He's got to deal with all the Canadians. You mean, what about all your scandals, right? From your SLC Lavalin scandal to the Chinese interference scandal to the balloons, etc., your distractions. I got to censor the internet. I got to censor my opposition. I got to censor the people with the judicial system. I got to take the judicial system and make it attack everybody. So this is what he's talking about for events, as 5 ethics violation investigations, right? The commission inquiry into the Freedom Convoy. Yep. Okay, let's continue.
You can evaluate from the exterior whether that's true or not, but in terms of actually being able to do the right things the right way and figure out what the role is and fill the role, a little experience helps.
I guess one of the things I want to address is whenever I have a conversation about you with friends or people,
a little experience helps. Well, you're going to need lots of experience when you're a drama teacher, right? Yeah.
People who are interested in politics, they talk about you like you're the emperor, like that that all the decisions come through you and everything that you feel and everything that you decide is what, comes down the pipe from the Prime Minister's office.
I think Trudeau thinks he is the emperor of the world, more like the emperor, WEF emperor.
I want to know how the files work. I want people to know if there's a decision that the Minister in the Environment has to make, or there's a decision that Madame Jolie has to make. You're the boss. I've heard some of the staff call you the boss. The boss will be here in 10 minutes. But is it like, for people who are at home listening to this, is it like working where you have to go to the boss's office and bring the files and say, here's what I think we should do, and then you get to make the last decision?
No, obviously not.
No.
First of all, the amount of work that goes on is so massive that would bog everything down. And one of the things that I deliberately set out to do in 2015 was change the approach from Stephen Harper's approach, which was very much a rigid, top-down approach that was sorry, they're talking a little loud out there.
Yeah, they are. It's very distracting.
Oh, he's distracted as he has to make up things in his head of what to say because he can't just speak the truth. Stephen Harper's top-down approach, you mean actually balancing the budget, understanding how to maintain the inflation, how to maintain the debt, how to not just buy and spend on worthless things like the ArriveCan app, and how not to waste $1 billion? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah. The boss is telling people to be quiet.
The dictator is trying to get his way. He has to have his way.
It was getting a little distracting. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I guess we closed the curtain.
Yeah.
They didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a huge amount of complexity. What my role is, first and foremost, is to set the frame, right? Is to say these are articulate the shared values we have as a political party, as people who come together. I recruited amazing people to come together and form one of the strongest, most diverse cabinets we've ever had in this country. And they have the responsibility of doing
the most diverse group cabinet ever. Yeah, the biggest group of bunch of dumbbells, like your wicked witch, and you're just your idiot little environmentalist. Like you're just your little wicked party.
The things that they have to do, but on the biggest things and on the really core things, like on the main thing right now, which is affordability, which is housing, which is the things that are really core to everything, along with a couple of big international files. Yes, I'm involved in huge amount of all the aspects of that. But the latest decision on fisheries or the minutia of an approval coming through the industry department or something, no, we have great ministers and great teams that are all about that.
So the housing crisis is 100% you and your team's fault. Inflation, your ethics violations, your censoring of the internet, you're setting up everybody to get to purchase your injections, your COVIDism, your lockdowns. It's all you. We all know, Mr. Tyrant.
You never see a press conference and go, oh shit, why did they talk about that, or why did they take that position?
Oh no, I do that quite regularly. Okay. I'm like, ooh, yeah, we're gonna have to clean that up. Or say, okay, if the minister doesn't respond to this issue clearly enough, then I'm gonna have to go out the next day and respond to it clearly enough. And it would be better if I am just repeating what the minister already said the day before, and that sort of settles it.
Right.
Rather than me having to go in and clean up. I mean, one of the things that we...
No, you wouldn't actually want to have to go do any work. We all know how you've been hiding from Parliament, right? And you're just a repeater of what? Klaus Schwab at the WEF? Did you get the printout and then you read that and then your ministers read it? And that way you can hold... I don't know about this. I didn't talk about it. I don't have any accountability, no.
We did, or that I decided, was that every Wednesday I would take all questions in question period.
Right.
And for a while, the ministers were like, woohoo, it's a day we get to sit back and the prime minister has to take all the questions that would be directed at me. And then one of my colleagues, because I didn't want to do it, pointed out to them, you shouldn't want the prime minister getting up on your files. If you have a headache that he's getting questions about and he's having to answer on it, then it's because you put something on his plate that he shouldn't have to deal with. So I mean, there's this. I'm there to respond to whatever happens, because ultimately the buck stops with me.
But these guys, him and his team, they never actually answer any questions. They'll get a direct question and they'll just throw their statement back. They'll reread their statement over and over and over, right?
But ideally, people are dealing with the situations and the challenges as they happen.
This is what you're talking about. This is what you said at the top when we started the conversation. This is about getting the feel for driving. And as the years go by, that becomes a little bit, I don't want to use the term easier, but you get more accustomed to the role. Would that be accurate?
But you're right. It's not easier, because as you sort of get, certain things under your belt, the fine tuning becomes more and more complicated and more challenging.
So I know I've asked you this before, but I was thinking about this on the drive today. Most people who have a position, their day starts in a certain way. Is every one of your days different? Does it start with, all the biographies I've read about prime ministers, there's briefs to read and things to study, and up late at night reading stuff to prepare for the next morning. How is each day scheduled? Do you look at a schedule that night, knowing what's coming the next morning? How does
Ideally, yes.
how does your
Ideally,
day
I know
organized?
what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of days, but that doesn't always happen.
Right.
The days are hugely varied. Usually starts with a conversation about what's in the news, what are the issues going to come up, what are our big announcements of the day, just so I make sure that are there any particular issues that need to be flagged? Are there things?
Pretty much he's saying is that, what are we going to be caught with today? What are we going to have to defend ourselves with? What are we going to have to avoid and double speak, double talk? You know, what's our problems? What problems have we created and now the public is aware of? That's pretty much it, right?
So that's every day. The first work thing I do is a briefing, a check-in with some of my senior staff and our top issues team, just to talk about what's sort of going to be the shape of the day. But then,
is he talking about his top group of McKinsey, and Associates, the firm McKinsey that they paid how many millions of dollars to in the last year and every year? How many associates are they paying to do their job for them? Remember this, guys? Oh yeah.
into meetings, I may go into events, I may have just policy briefs, it may be engaging with stakeholders. I mean, it's a huge range of things.
Right.
But most of my days ideally start the same way, which is me, helping wake up the kids and see them off to school and then head off to work.
So you get the family organized, then you head to the office.
Yeah. Explaining to my 16-year-old that, you don't, just because you're not doing anything that you feel is important doesn't mean you get to cut your first class because you were up too late studying or not studying as they are.
Is he a good student?
He's actually good student. He's really smart. He's really focused on basketball. He's really focused on
really tall. Is he taller than you?
Oh yeah, he's got taller than me last summer. He's now pushing 6'3".
Jesus.
No signs of slowing down.
Wow.
So between basketball and some different things.
So your son is a he, and he's really smart. So we all wonder, is your son looking at independent news about how the world hates you and how you're called a dictator and a tyrant? And what are those conversations happen at home? Or have you completely indoctrinated him, and so he'll shut up the conversation and you're racist, you're anti-Semite, no, we're not having a discussion, no, you're anti-vaccines, no discussion here, my dad is right? I wonder, what do you guys think watching this show? Like, what do you think his son, and then I guess there's a daughter too, all right? Yeah.
Does okay in school, about as well as I used to do at his age. So I can't really. My dad used to pull out his old report card saying, "Look, I got straight A's. Why can't you do that?" I'm like, Dad, come on. So I promised I'd never lay that on my son, which is convenient because I don't have those report cards to pull out. My daughter is doing that. Ella is great, and the little guy,
He's the little guy.
Oh, but he's so smart. Anyway, they're all three of them are so smart.
You once told me your father always insisted that you have dinner together, and that the dinner conversations could vary between Shakespeare and the Constitution. And I was wondering if you've continued that tradition.
I think we've probably updated the frame, but I had dinner with Ella and one of her friends just last night, and the conversation was around, what were we talking about? I was explaining to her, I was trying to have her understand why everyone should know the value of the speed of light, just as part of your general knowledge, knowing that it's 300,000 kilometers a second, that it takes 8 minutes for the light to go from the sun to the earth, is just part of the frame of understanding the world. She's like, Dad, you're just confusing me. None of that really matters. And I goes, well, no, but you should know what the value of C is, because it's a useful number. And I usually pester them with science geek stuff rather than Shakespeare stuff. But
Are the kids on social media?
Here's the good question. Are the kids on social media? Are they reading the comments on Twitter? Are they reading the comments? Oh, by the way, guys, this video of DiMonte, you think there's comments on there? No, there's no comments. The comments are closed comments. Of course. Could you imagine all the comments of freaking hate because of this Trudeau here? And then now Terry, whatever your background is besides radio with CBC, you're being lumped in with Trudeau now by being friends with him. So you screwed yourself pretty good. Anyways.
God, yeah.
They are, right?
Yeah. One of the best things that happened was when I chose to we made a decision as a government that we would ban TikTok from government phones.
Yeah.
Well, my kids have government phones because they're part of the family, and therefore they don't have TikTok on them. And that was.
Are they mad at you for that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've worked around on going on the website or something like that, but it's not the same thing. They're teenagers.
How do you have the conversation about the current state of what politics has become in this country? You can't protect them from it. So what do you tell them?
They know, because we've had conversations all their life about why I'm doing this and why it matters, and they've seen the impact, and as they travel with me,
they've seen the impact. I bet.
But they were getting a lot of
all the haters, all the protesters,
reactions via social media or everything. So we do have conversations about it, but they tend to, I think, and we talk about it, be reasonably smart about it, and they're learning.
He's double talking. We talk about it. We talk about how everyone hates me, how I'm ruining the country, how I'm trying to break the country down to depression, kill our food, steal everyone's land. Oh my God, what else can he say?
The tough lessons of people who want to be their friends for the wrong reasons, or people who are trying to use them, or people who are not really their friends, or people who say mean things to them without knowing anything about them.
Oh, probably, yeah. Your father's an asshole.
I try to help them through that a little bit, because I certainly know what it's like. Yeah,
you've been through it. Yeah.
But not in the era of social media, and we can be somewhat helpful.
Do you see it? Are you ever on social media? Because I see it. My wife and I see it, and I'll say to Jess, Jesus Christ, look at this. Look at this ugliness. Do you see it? And how do you cope with that?
First of all, yeah, I see it. I mean, you can't
not.
Even though I don't spend much time at all on social media,
right.
I very much know it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there.
You're a little busy.
No, but every now and then, we'll see it. But inevitably, my reflection is not, ooh, that's about me, or that's this. It's about them. Like, my question is always, well, what is going on in this person's life that they are that angry, that they are.
Wow. What's going on in this person's life that they're that angry at you? Because the government is interfering with our lives. You are interfering with our lives. I never cared about the government 10 years ago before you destroyed everything. Like, I didn't need to pay attention. You probably didn't need to pay attention because the government was small. They didn't interfere in our lives. But now you're interfering in everything. You're censored the internet, you asshole. You freaking stomped on protesters, the most peaceful protest in all of the centuries of time. You broke ethics violations. That cost of living is insane, of the food and the housing and the gasoline. You keep adding taxes to everything. It's a full-on socialist, communist taxation, and we don't get anything back for our money. You're stealing our land. You're stealing our wealth. You're stealing Canada. Canada is a laughing joke of the world. You have your minister freaking going to the WEF. She is not representing the WEF. She's representing Canadians, you asshole. Jesus. This has got to be the intro. Let's get back to it.
Are that lost?
Yeah.
That they are needing to lash out to this level. And how can I help them, but how can I help create a society in which they are not going to be that angry? How can we contribute to reassuring people about that their institutions are going to be there? That yes,
you could stop attacking Canada and Canadians and stop destroying the country by resigning, by going on trial for your war crimes, you asshole. Jesus Christ. What an idiot. I'm lying through his teeth about how he's purposely ruining the world. It's just, this is really making me angry watching this. Oh boy, oh boy.
the world is changing massively, but it's changing in ways that, if we position it right, will be good for Canadians and good for Canada. And that's really the focus. As I see people so filled with anguish and fear and concern about what the world's going, it comes out a lot in lashing out against me or against the World Economic Forum or against whatever the global governance or whatever that is there.
So the first things that are in the back of his mind that he probably wish he didn't say was the WEF and global governments. His one world government. It's right on his mind. He's trying to avoid it, and he accidentally probably said it. Like, wow.
Boogeyman of the day is, but I tend to think a lot of it. What can we do to solve for some of those challenges, some of that anger, some of that fear? How can people see that even though the world is changing, there is room for, and there is an opportunity for them to succeed, and their kids to succeed, and their community to succeed? How do we reassure people that there is success and happiness and recognition of their value in the future, while they're being buffeted by forces designed to make them more anxious, to gin them up with misinformation, and quite frankly, political movements out there, particularly the MAGA conservative movement, that is.
So now he's calling us the mega conservative movement. Yeah, his enemy number one, people in the center with common sense. We're not extreme right, we're not extreme left. We are the center. Trudeau and probably his Terry Lackey are extreme left. They call us the far right, but really they are way off the center. There are full-on socialist communists, far left. Government controls everything. It's full-on government. Government is in your face everywhere. 1984, guys.
Designed to amplify people's fears and not provide any real solutions to them. I mean, the complexity of the world right now, where climate change has an economic impact and a security impact, and social programs have an economic impact and climate impact, and everything is woven in, the simplification and the dumbing down of politics to emotional knee-jerk reactions is good to mobilize and get people outraged, but it's not good to actually be able to build the kind of consensus and solutions that people need.
How do you explain to people? I've tried to use the hockey analogy when I have a conversation about politics. I often talk about, two teams that meet each other for 7 games in the playoffs. And one of the things that I think is very Canadian is, after it's all done, the guys who are battered and bruised and bleeding meet at center ice and shake hands and pat each other on the back. And I try to make people understand you don't hate anybody. Your opponent, the head of the Conservative Party.
Let's get one thing straight here. His opponent is the Canadian people. His opponent is all Canadians. He doesn't give a shit about any of us. And he brings up climate change and economic and everything. Yeah, he's taxing us to death. We can't afford to put food on the table. Some people can't afford housing or food or clothing or insurance. Healthcare is shit. I don't even want to go to the hospital because it's crap. It's the worst it's ever been. I had no idea. I didn't follow politics, but I had no idea that I didn't notice the government under Stephen Harper. I didn't notice the problems. I was just living life. Like, I was still an adult. I was from, 20 to 30. And now since I've been 30 to nearly 40 under your reign, I have noticed the impact of government negatively in my life and everyone's life around me because everyone's talking about it. Let's go look at climate change with your bullshit, okay? The Earth getting warmer is normal. We're in a low period over the last 10,000 years. 10,000 years ago, it was much higher, and it's been proven in Greenland by measuring the ice a kilometer down and what temperature the ice froze, and you can see the difference in fluctuations over the thousands of years, as well as in the mud and the trees. There's other ways of testing it. Let's take a little look at that right now. Okay, and we're back. Here we are on my Irnieracing on Rumble. Hey, look, I got 7,550 subscribers. Let's see it. Important data of the history of climate on the Earth.
This ice is from the Viking Age, around the year 1000, also called the medieval warm period. We believe that in Greenland, the medieval warm period was about 1.5 degrees warmer on average than today.
Nordgrip, the Greenland ice core project, is being reopened to drill the last few meters through the ice sheet to the rock beneath the research station. The ice core, over 3 kilometers in length, has been hauled up to the surface piece by piece and contains important data on the history of the climate of the Earth.
See, guys, we won't watch the whole thing, but we'll watch a little bit more. This is how they measure the ice as it's been frozen down in levels and levels and levels through Greenland, Iceland, and as they pull it up, you have a micro differences in freezing temperature in the ice. It's quite amazing.
When we remove or drill the ice core, we leave a hole, and we insert a thermometer in the hole. We are able to map out the temperature through the 3-kilometer ice sheet. Now, that temperature, if we do it precisely,
3 kilometers
accuracy, then the ice has not forgotten how cold or warm it was on the surface at the time the snow fell. So, using those temperatures, we have been able to reconstruct the temperatures.
Amazing, amazing. Within the hundreds, thousands of a degree.
Here we have our picture of the temperature reconstruction. And
Greenland.
back along this axis is going back in time. This is the last 8,000 years.
There you go.
We have plotted here. On this axis, we have the temperature.
Yeah, here's the temperature at minus 30, between minus 29 and minus 30, 6,000, 8,000 years ago, then 5,000, and then the Earth started to go down, minus 31, minus 32. So here is your 2.5 degree change, 2.5 degree change from the warmer at minus 29.5 to minus 32.
At the site in Greenland, and we can see that if we go back from now about 4,000 years ago, we would have temperatures up here for about 4,000 years that were 2.5 degrees warmer on average than today. Now, as we approach our time, we can see that in the period between 4,000 years ago and back to the period 2,000 years ago, which is actually the Roman age, the temperatures have been decreasing in Greenland.
2.5 degrees, the Roman age, bam! From 2,000 years ago, it was getting actually relatively 2 degrees colder during the Roman age, and then it went up warmer another degree and then back down. I mean, you guys you can just see the graph here. Yeah, so there's some good information to show, maybe it's not affected by us directly, but this is just what the Earth is doing.
Other core samples from elsewhere in Greenland confirm that the Little Ice Age ended about 140 years ago, at the coldest point in the last 10,000 years.
Anyways, guys, to summarize, and we'll go back.
Means that it will be very hard indeed to prove whether the increase of temperature in the 20th century was man-made or it's a natural variation. That will be very hard because we made ourselves an extremely poor experiment. We started to observe meteorology at the coldest spot in the last year.
Bam! There you go. So only 100 years ago, they started doing meteorology, and we were at the coldest point. So now it's going back up on the scales. Okay, guys, let's get back over to Prime Minister Trudeau here. Trudeau.
In the House of Commons, you go at each other. But I try to tell people, that's politics. That's the way politics work. How do you, is there a way to tamp that down and make people understand that you don't hate anybody?
First of all,
You disagree with them.
I don't, but I mean, two things. First of all, there are always moments in the House around a particular challenge, a particular disaster, a particular moment where you feel these moments where we all represent a diverse group of Canadians. We all care for this country enough to make sacrifices to be here, whether we're on government side or opposition side, and you get those moments of that. But the other thing that I reflect on is it's not just that it's not consistent with who I am and who most of those people are who choose to serve their communities to hate an opponent. And it's that it's really counterproductive. Like, to my mind, the Liberals made a huge mistake in the years following 2006, the 2006 loss to Stephen Harper, in that, you know, so many Liberals didn't like him so viscerally that it clouded their judgment in a whole bunch of different ways. And most Canadians who, you know, Mr. Harper was not a particularly warm and fuzzy style guy.
No.
But most Canadians were like, okay, you know, he seems competent enough. I disagree with him on a few things, but he's not a bad person. The Liberals were busy going, he's a bad person. It's
Right.
like when you get into that emotional register, you actually lose your ability to have reasonable conversations on it. But the challenge is when you, and so much of that emotional register is so impactful in politics these days.
Yeah.
So much is done on emotions. I mean, Liberals, you know, as reasonable centrists in general, a little left on sometimes, tiny bit right on other things, are sitting more or less where Canadians are. And most Canadians are thoughtful and reasonable about their life and have their own opinions on a whole different range of things. And, you know, we can usually go and reach them in a thoughtful way. So we don't have to gin up big negative emotions. And it doesn't really work because we tend to be a little more on the earnest side.
Man, he's taken way too many words to try to explain himself.
And try and do it.
Yeah.
And
Just get to your point.
Sell at a time of real anxiety that people are going through to say, yeah, you know what, we're gonna work this in a serious way and we're gonna put forward real solutions. And when there are people on the either end of the spectrum saying, you know, oh my God, you know, from the left and far left, you know, the system is broken, capitalism is killing everyone. It's, you know, that rich, you know, nobody should be successful in this country. All those, you know, far left tropes that creep in when you can reach that way, or conversely on the far right, where it's like, you know, any government is bad government. You know, we're trying to inject people with microchips. Where, you know, like all the different things that come. Like there's a way of.
They are injecting people with microchips. People are signing up for this right now in other countries, like volunteers, and they're putting them in their wrist and they're paying for shit with that. It's real. It's real. And yeah, nobody wants big government. The government was never supposed to be big government. Back in the day, taxes didn't even like exist. And then they're like, oh, well, we need a temporary tax for this. And then that tax never goes away. And the income tax, there was a time when there was no such thing. Oh man, how are we going to make it through this, guys? 22 minutes. This is like torture, huh?
Emotionalizing things in a really intense way that is powerful, that does lead to negative emotions like hate and anger.
Yeah.
And I just don't think Canada does very well as a country when we're driven. Actually, we don't end up being driven very often by hate and anger. I mean, it's not us.
That's what disappoints me so much. You know, when I use the hockey analogy, I always thought that was very Canadian. You scrap and, you know, you kick the crap out of each other.
Yeah, we all wish we could meet him on the hockey rink, don't we?
Always was a very Canadian thing to me. People ask me all the time how we became friends. And, you know, people always say to me, I know he's your friend, but, you know, it always opens with that. And I say, we became friends because I used to say, when I thought you were full of shit, I would tell you, right? When we disagreed on something, we would have a real sort of, you know, and
So when are we going to hear the actual questions? Some questions about why Canada is suffering. Why is Chrystia Freeland going to the WF meetings? Who does she represent? Why are you censoring the internet? Why won't you resign when most of Canada is so pissed off at you and the whole world? Why are you screwing with our food? Why are you making it so hard to get food? Why are you keep adding to the carbon tax? On and on and on and on. Yeah. He's not going to ask it any questions, it doesn't look like. We might have to make a part 2 here. We'll take a break after a few more minutes.
You'd set me straight. So I want to know, do you have people around you today that tell you when they think that you're full of shit or they disagree?
My God.
You do. So there's spirited conversations in caucus.
But that's the only way I can function.
Right.
And that's, for me, having people who are comfortable disagreeing with me, telling me where they disagree and forcing me to explain when they disagree, and justify and show that I'm actually engaged with them and thoughtful about it. Listen, it's the way I function. I need to surround myself with brilliant people who disagree and, who challenge each other and challenge me, and we figure out what the right thing is. That's the way.
So when you say it's the expert opinion, but you won't let anybody debate anything, you won't let any doctor speak back and debate the subject about science. No, science is confirmed. It's confirmed because we fact-checked it. So there's no debate. There's no pushback. That's exactly the opposite of what he's saying right now. Oh, I love debate. I love people telling me I'm wrong and debating it. No, you don't. You're just tyrant over top of everybody. It's your way or the highway. What the feedback that you're talking about is in your secret little chamber with you and the WF and Chrystia Freeland, the Nazi. There's no pushback with Canadians. You didn't listen to the Freedom Convoy. You didn't have discussions with any of them. No, you went out there with your horses and ran over top of them. Oh my God, how can we continue to listen to this tyrant, this fucking asshole? Why is he? He's just earlier. He's like, why are people so angry? Why are they so angry? They're angry with themselves. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're not affecting my life whatsoever. They're Trudeau, not so.
I am delighted. It's well, you know me a little bit. When someone comes at me and goes, "Oh, I got a big thing. I got a big disagreement with you," I'm like, "Okay, clear out. I'm talking to this person for the next half hour."
Well,
right?
we've seen it on television with really nasty folks that approach you, and you do your best. And I because I've known you for so long. People say, "Why does he do that?" I said, "Because that's who he is. Because he enjoys it and he wants to engage." And
I honestly believe that there is, in any argument, what is most interesting, and the way our political system, was always set up. Look, there is nobody in Parliament right now who doesn't want a better country, right? So we can all agree with that. Right. I mean, the Bloc want their own country, but they want it to be better anyway, right? So
let them have their own country. Let them and join it too with freaking Ontario.
Safe communities with good jobs and people optimistic about the future and beautiful environment and opportunities and all those sorts of things. On that level, we can still all of us pretty much agree.
Yeah.
The interesting stuff is, okay, how do we get there? What is the best mix of policies? What is the best priorities? What are the things you need to do first? There's a huge range of really important, interesting conversations about that. And that's what politics used to be all about, right? Where someone, more on the left would say, no, we need to take more from the rich and flatten out the income levels for everyone so everyone can basically just get by. And people more on the right would say, no. Those who are successful, we should be leaving them with lots of resources so they can be even more successful and drag everyone along with us. And then if you're in the middle, you say, well, we need to be there for the vulnerable, but we also need successful to be driving the economy. And they figure, and along that spectrum, there's a lot of different good arguments to have. But there is something that is changing right now. And Donald Trump was a symptom of that, not a cause of that. There is a level of anger and sort of burn down the institutions and almost nihilism that's creeping in all of our countries, right?
Yeah.
In around the edges, where things that people thought were pretty much well established are suddenly going backwards. And take what happened with Roe versus Wade in the United States.
Yeah.
Like, we know for a long time that the American right has had problems with women's rights.
Women's rights, he said.
It was never supposed to happen in the United States. You were never supposed to see Roe versus Wade overturned and states and political parties rolling back women's rights that have been fought for generations. And people say, well, at least that'll never happen in Canada. We can no longer say that. There are things that we used to believe that we are now seeing instrumentalized and eroded in very, very real ways.
Why are those winds blowing up here, do you think?
Because a couple of different reasons. One, just because our proximity to the United States means that there's a huge amount of cultural and people to people and
Yeah, he's struggling.
Overlap and connect.
Right.
And it's
He's
just part of our
struggling to
North
say
American
answer that
plan.
one. So he's bringing up, it's like Canada's defending the women's rights to have an abortion, right? It's your choice. We've all heard that. It's your choice. But when it came to our medical autonomy, no, it's not your choice. We're going to use severe coercion. You're going to lose your job. You're going to be fired. You can't go to work. You can't feed your family. You can't pay your mortgage. Everything gets more expensive while we're firing you because you don't get this dangerous emergency authorized injections. Multiple injections, and you need more and more and more and more, and there's never enough. And I'm going to make more and more money off of every single one, because in fact I bought enough for, what was it, 10 per every Canadian, and now nobody wants them. Even the people that got 3, there's only a few that want their 4th and 5th and 6th. And so he's talking about, well, I got to worry about the Conservatives taking away your right to abortion. I think that's a fairy tale. The fact is he's taken away all our rights, our right to free speech. He's censoring us. He's trying to censor anyone and he's attacking you with the justice system, the corrupt justice system. Just like David Lindsay was actually convicted of 2 counts of assault for brushing up. No intent to harm, to punch, to do anything. And he didn't cause any harm. He brushed up against 2 security guards who were illegally blocking his entrance into a public health building that he was allowed to be in. And the judge doesn't want to hear the reasoning. No, we're just going to talk about the assault. And we all seen the video where he brushed up again. Let's watch that video right now. We're going to end on David Lindsay was convicted of 2 counts of assault in Canada's day and age under Trudeau's tyranny. Let's take a look, guys. We're going to watch this real quick.
Well, you know what? I disagree.
Assault, assault, cry wolf, cry assault. That's it, guys. Let's try it again. From the beginning. I'm sorry, I'm timing the videos.
Well, gentleman here and this gentleman here will support us.
Again, this guy and the guy beside him and another one are blocking the entrance into Interior Health, a public building. Paid for by the taxpayers, right? We're taking all our money to have our health building. David Lindsay is allowed to be in there, but they're not allowing him because he stands up for our rights and freedoms.
You know what? I disagree. So that is assault.
But he has to be able to go to the... He has to be able to go to the...
You know what? I disagree. So David, that is assault.
But he has to be able to go to the...
Okay, guys, bam.
Hey guys.
That was so ridiculous. He was charged with assault, not now, but many months later when the police and the Crown and the politician, the mayor, are looking to attack the Kelowna protesters. And David Lindsay is the head of the Kelowna protests. He's the one that does all the work to organize it every Saturday, which was downtown across from Stewart Park. And I filmed many of them. And here he is. They charged him with 2 counts of assault way later on. And then he goes to how many court appearances to defend himself, and the judge, this crazy woman judge who's seen this video footage, convicted him 2 counts of assault. Now he's gonna appeal it, of course, and blah blah blah. You know, and luckily he's defending himself, but like, how ridiculous is this? That does not meet the bar of assault that anybody considers, because we're all, if that was assault, then we're all guilty of assault. And every time we go to Costco and we have to try to reach to get a dish and you brushed against somebody. And also the security guards leaned in against him as he's just like, hey, let me through. He's indicating that he's going through. That's all he was, is an indicating that I want to go through. I'm trying to get to there. Oh my God. Okay, guys. So we're not going to watch any more of this Trudeau. We'll stop it at 30 minutes, and we'll have 30 minutes in part 2. Only if you guys want me to watch part 2 with you, if you enjoyed the commentary, because you would have never watched this otherwise, and neither would have I. I would never watch it either.
Landscape that we absorb. The other thing is, I think the American right has increasingly noticed that Canada is a bit of a challenge to them, because they've been busy saying, oh, well, maybe they can do certain things in Sweden and in different countries, but, it won't work in the United States. It won't work in America, where we have a particular thing. And then you have a country like Canada that is succeeding in banning assault-style rifles, for example, assault-style weapons. So we're succeeding in having, healthcare that everyone.
Okay, that's the end of listening to this guy. Banning assault-style rifles? No, it's already been established that you wanted to take hundreds of rifles that are used for hunting. Your assault-style rifles was a list of hunter's rifles. It was a list of all types of rifles with no... You didn't have anybody who understands guns who's making this list either. We all know it's on purpose, because it's not about assault-style rifles, because your definition of that is completely bogus and you have no experts there to help you whatsoever. It's about removing all the guns so nobody can fight against you when you freaking roll over this country with a steamroller and literally killing people, which you're already doing with your MAID program. You're already doing with the food and the housing crisis and inflation, and the COVIDism, all the injections you did. You want to prevent a revolution. That's the whole point of the First Amendment, is to prevent the government from being a tyrant. And that's why the U.S. has the First Amendment, the guns, so the sovereign citizens, the citizens can make sure the government doesn't do things that are completely tyrannical, authoritative. And what was the second thing he said? Oh man, I got it. The guns and censoring internet. I don't know, whatever he said, but that's enough, guys. We're 50 minutes into this video, 28 minutes, 27 seconds into this little thing. Oh, well, what was the last thing he said? 28. One more time.
We're succeeding in having, healthcare that.
Oh yeah, the healthcare, everyone gets access, but when I need an MRI on my back, I have to wait a year for an MRI. A year. By that time, I've already suffered and committed suicide with MAID. This is IrnieracingNews, guys, Canadian.Journalist. Make sure you give this video a like, a subscribe, and I have a new channel that I'm trying to build up that won't be shadow banned, and it's called the Canadian.Journalist. It's YouTube. Oh, you're watching the screen right here. So you just you could just type in, well, I mean, I'm in YouTube, Canadian.Journalist, right? With the dot between it. And there I am. We got 306 subscribers. I did a bunch of 14 videos from the Remembrance Day, where they tried to charge Linda Jackson, and then they stayed the charges for causing disorder or disruptive conduct. I got the hockey player Matt Petgrove charged with manslaughter when he freaking kicked the other guy and killed him with his blade to the neck. It's so ridiculous. On to Palestine and Israel stuff, and UK and government and Russia and blah blah blah. Just the news, right? And I'll also, when we actually get some subscribers there, I'll start throwing some content there. So again, youtube.com/@Canadian.Journalist, and make sure you give a like. And yeah, guys, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a part 2 for the rest of this, because I know you and I won't watch it otherwise. I'm not going to watch it unless you guys force me to watch it with you. Okay. Okay. All right. Have a good one, guys. And this is the end clap for the timing. Cheers.